Hey guys, and welcome to another Walk-In Wednesday. Actually, a Walk-In Wednesday is a lot like a virtual gun show. I've been using that format lately, and you guys have responded really positively. So the bottom line is you like it when I get down on the floor and crawl on my hands and knees. No, actually you like it when I show you lots of guns. And that's the same thing that I do with a Walk-In Wednesday. Just because I had some guns come in this week, I want to show them to you before I put them up for sale. Now, I'm not allowed to sell guns on YouTube, and I hesitate about giving prices and things like that. But part of the education, these are educational videos, part of the education is for you to know the values. I'm not going to give you the value of every gun, but from time to time, I will give you current price ranges just to help you gauge, because I know if you're like me, you see something and you want it, but then you realize you can't afford it. So that's part of it as well. Now, the last virtual gun show that I did, I mentioned that when I go to gun shows these days, not only are the prices up, but you just can't find good guns anymore. Well, wouldn't you know it, just yesterday, I had some beautiful Walthers come in. If you watch my channel regularly, you know Walthers and Lugers are my favorites, and I have some stunning Walthers to show you. So I know you're excited. Unbelievable. Check it out. Okay, tan Aka holster. It's got some wear on it. It does say Walther PPK, a little bit of smoochy there, covering up the K, but that says PPK. It is early brass stud. After that, they'll have a nickel or aluminum stud, but this is the brass stud, so the early edition. And what gun does it hold? Got to wipe it off. It is an RZM PPK. Now, the RZM marking, most of you know, was the purchasing department of the Nazi Party, the Third Reich purchasing department, and they would sell these to party members at a discounted price or on a payment plan. So if you were a member of the party, one of the perks was you could buy one of these. So it doesn't necessarily mean they were leaders in the party, but they at least were party members and they were paying their dues. This is one of the earliest ones. You see the serial number is 806. That's about 1934. The earliest known RZM is about 8004. Well, there's a few exceptions, but they go up to about 850,000. These would be crown and proofed, and if you look at the finish on that, absolutely beautiful. Front strap, absolutely beautiful. It does come with a finger extension magazine and a beautiful early banner-only magazine. Okay, two guns here that I wanted to show you. You can see right away, look how beautiful that is. Now, I do believe that they came like this. The white wax pencil was not in there, but here somebody added the white wax pencil. You can decide for yourself if that's something that is a distraction to you or if you like it. There are presentation guns that did have the white wax. This is not a presentation gun that I know of, but you can see it's very early. First of all, the serial number is reversed. We've talked about that before. Reversed in that you can see when you hold it like this, it's upside down, and when you hold this one, it's right side up. This one is very early, so just check this out. It's stunningly beautiful. This is 1929, so that's the first year of production. It is one of the first 10,000 made. Again, 1929, notice the fire blue here. Notice the high polish finish. There is a red dot here. I would not remove that because on these early guns, they did from time to time put a red dot in the front. This was a commercial gun, so I guess the customer requested it. Also, sometimes you'll see yellow paint here. So it basically looks like nail polish yellow and red. In this case, they just have the red dot. It's crown and proofed. It does have the extended barrel. The early variation has an extended barrel. You can see that there compared to this barrel. This is a later gun, and standard barrel, that's the extended barrel. Another feature is the fat hammer and an early gun. You can see the difference. Actually, what it looks like is the circle is a little, the hollowed out circle there is a little bit smaller than here. This is considered a fat hammer. This is the standard. They also had a large ring hammer. Just different variations, but an early gun. The reason I'm showing it to you is just look at how beautiful that is. And that is original finish, original fire blue. The magazine will be the slab side and early banner. Just remarkable gun. I called this a standard commercial, but I lied a little bit because it is a 9mm, and only about 2%, 2 or 3% were in 9mm. The vast majority were 7.65, also known as 32 caliber. Look at the front strap. Let's just compare them, how nice they are. This is still the really nice high polish finish. These beautiful guns, I alluded to the fact you just don't find them like this anymore. So the only way you find them is when, unfortunately, one of the older collectors passes away and these become available. Now the 9mm does not have the push button. I've talked about this before. The mag release, push the button and the mag pops out. It's really simple. I don't like this design as well, but what they found on the 9mm, there's more shock to the gun when you fire the heavier round, and they would find that it would weaken the frame, sometimes crack the frame. And so the hole drilled there weakens the frame, and so for 9mm, they decided to do the bottom release. And so this one, like a P38, it's bottom release. You just push that back. It does work pretty easily. So, and there's the 9mm magazine. It does have a Walther banner and the caliber. And this finger extension bottom is more what you're used to seeing compared to the slab side. You can see the difference. This is the earliest variation, and this is actually, it's indented with a thin lip. For those of you who keep track of those details, 9mm. Another rare caliber, just showed you 9mm. Some of you are, right now, you're gasping. Oh my gosh, look at this. This is a 22 caliber, and look at the finish on that. Again, fire blue, just remarkable guns. Look at the front strap, indented finger extension. That is the thicker lip. Actually, that looks like a post-war bottom. I can actually trade that out because see how that's squared off. Too much detail for you guys, but that looks like a post-war bottom, but it is a correct Walther. Yeah, so it's a Walther banner only, correct pre-war magazine that somebody put a post-war bottom on. I promise you I will correct that as soon as this video is over because I do have the extra bottoms. So early pre-war would be Crown N, and there it is, Crown N here and here. There's the serial number for those of you who keep track, but this is probably among the nicest 22 calibers I've ever seen. Here's a price range. Again, for educational purposes only, people wonder how much is this. 22 calibers are also very rare, and only about 2 or 3% of them are in 22 caliber. Speaking of 22 caliber, you know what this is, 22 caliber, but a PPK. This is the original box. There's the serial number of the gun. From the serial number, this is made in about 1938. By the way, that PP, that 22 caliber PP, I think was also about 1938. Let's open up the box, and this is the contents. Now, this plastic is not original. I put that on there. Well, you'll see why I put that on there. This is the early tin. The early tin has a picture of the factory. That's the Walther factory. And when we open it up, there's the original oil from 1938. Look at that. It's just exactly the way it left the factory. This has probably never been unfolded and taken out. I'm not taking it out, but that's exactly the way it left the factory. A little rag, a Walther banner cellophane. You hear that? That's the original cellophane, the original oil. I think I might oil up my my car with that tonight. By the way, this is the early box has the pink interior. Later they have like a yellow interior, but let's keep looking. Here's the gun itself. Get the fingerprints off of it, but there's the serial number. You can see the Crown N here and here, 1938. Look at that front strap. And there's the fire blue, beautiful gun. Again, some of you are gasping. There's the magazine, which is correct. The 7-hole is the early pre-war magazine, so this is the correct magazine. And in the box is the spare magazine, also a 7-hole. Now, they did come with 1 flat bottom and 1 finger extension. That's the way they were sold commercially. Typically, if it's a police gun or a military gun, they didn't spend the extra money for the pinky finger, so they just used 2 flat bottom if it was military or police. Now on the 22 caliber, it does have a cleaning rod. We'll see a standard cleaning rod. This is the original cellophane. This is the 22 caliber cleaning rod, which is brass and a zigzag pattern on the end. That is not typical, only found on a 22 caliber. And then we top that all off with the original manual, and that's why I put this in cellophane, because if I oil this up and put it on top, I'm going to get oil stains on the manual, which I don't want to do. Now this manual is going to be dated on the back. Remember I said the gun was 38, and right there is the date, and it says 10/37. So that's about right, because they would have printed this and had them stored, and in 38 they put it in a box and shipped it out for sale. Also, it tells you where it was sold. That's probably a retail store where they sold this in 1938, manual printed in 1937, actually October. That's the original manual. Okay, this next one is a PP. In the original box, not as nice as the other box, obviously. Remember the pink interior? This is a little bit later because this is the yellow interior. A little dirtier. Manual is on top. I will put it in cellophane to preserve it a little bit more. Remember the tin? It had the Walther factory. Here's the tin that just has the Walther banner. This is the later tin. Oh, there's something inside. Let's check it out. And you can see this is not nearly as nice. There is some original oil. The rag has been used, unlike the other one that was never touched. Somebody took it out of the cellophane. That's what was inside the cellophane. It's used. And look, there's a dummy round. That is an actual dummy round because you can see it had a hole drill in it. They would have come with 3 dummy rounds, but somewhere along the line 2 were lost. Now I mentioned this is a little bit later. Let's check out the manual. Let's check out the date on the original manual, and you see February of 1940. So now the war has started. I would expect this then to be Eagle N and not Crown N. So same manual, but just printed a little bit later. There's no retailer printed on that one. And here's the gun itself. And sure enough, that is the Eagle N instead of the Crown N. And this date, this serial is about 1940. You still see it has the high polish finish. In about 1942, they went to a duller military finish. And you can see this is a nice finish. Again, I just want to get the smudges off of it. Beautiful high polish finish, fire blue safety, beautiful backstrap, but check this out. Have you ever seen an original boxed RJ, box matching to the gun? Oh yeah, I have to show you that part. That's probably the most important part. You can buy the boxes separately, and here's a price range on the boxes. I'll just say it. These boxes with accessories, $300 to $400, but to have the matching box, well, that's priceless. Here is the serial number of the gun and the matching box, and that's what it should look like with the green label. And the RJ, if you haven't watched my video about RJs, that's Reichsjustiz. So basically the court system, the Justice Department, these were issued to people who worked within the court system. And of course the Nazi Party, the Third Reich, was very busy arresting people who were the wrong race, the wrong political party, wrong ideology. Anybody who they saw as subversive to the government would be arrested, and this was part of the court system. And this gun, the RJ, was part of the Justice Department in Germany in 1940. This, by the way, as most of them are, 7.65, so it's a 32 caliber pistol. One more thing, again, not as nice. You can see the interior is not as nice, but this is the standard cleaning rod for the Walther PPs and PPKs. It's only the 22 caliber that's different. That's the standard cleaning rod. See the little tapering at the end. I understand this because you take your cloth. Remember in the tin you have a little cloth. You pull that through and then you go in and out of the gun. But what do you do with this? Well, on a PPK especially, I've never really had a problem with a PP. But little known fact, I'll bet you can comment if you never knew what this was for. But when you put the PPK grip on and you slide it on, the holes have to, because it's all one piece, the holes have to line up. This perfectly, you insert it here and center it, insert it here and center it, and it lines up the grip. I've used that many a time, and most people don't know what it's for. Okay, I only have one other, and this is a police gun. That's a black police holster. The way you can tell is you look right here. Actually, the maker is upside down, Otto Sindel in Berlin, 1941. So this is pretty early. Since it's upside down, I'll show it to you this way. But then the police eagle, one of them's upside down. Either this is upside, I think this is right side up and this is upside down. And people get upset. They say, oh, the Germans never did that. Guess what? They did. They were making this for war. During the war, they were not concerned about everything being absolutely perfect. So yes, I see this quite often, and I see other mistakes, which we've talked about in other videos. The police eagle has the stubby wings and a B on the chest. That was just the inspection proof. So this is a police style holster with a police eagle, and when we take a look at the gun, it is a Police Eagle C. Now that is also the inspector stamp for the gun itself. Police Eagle C was the most common one, and now see here the fire blue is almost completely worn off, but the finish on the gun is still very nice. And the serial number puts it at about 1942, I believe. Still has a high polish finish, eagle and proofs. But one other thing rarely seen, it does have a matching magazine, or at least partially matching, and I'll show you what I mean. They stamped the last 3 digits. So the last 3 digits are 131. They stamped 131 here. So this is the matching magazine. However, what I would like to make sure you understand is this is not a factory stamp. That was done at the police arsenal. The police ordered this from the factory. It came with 2 magazines with a flat bottom, and then the arsenal most likely stamped both of them 131 because they like to keep them together, and so that is a police stamp. It was done after this magazine was hardened. They stamped it in and indented it a little bit. When there's a factory stamp, the Luftwaffe has factory numbered that go along this way, and you don't see that indentation like you do here. And then the SS marked them, typically marked them on the spine, and that was done at the factory. There's no indentation. A completely different style, and it's the entire serial number. This is done at the police arsenal, but still, I would call this a police gun with 1 matching magazine and the original holster from 1941. Okay, I've shown you some beautiful Walthers, but now I'm hiding what I have because I got a special treat for you. I got 2 Polish Radoms, also known as Viz. If you're in Europe, they usually call it the Viz. 2 Polish Radom Viz. And these have quite a story. First of all, I have to say kudos to the Poles. They're taking the brunt of the refugees coming out of Ukraine. And what I see on the news is they're not putting them in camps or herding them into tents. They are taking the Ukrainian people by the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, bringing them in and housing them in their own homes. So throughout Poland, they are extremely gracious people and doing a great job to lessen some of the pain for some of the families. And what a wonderful thing for the men who are fighting in the front to know that their families are being taken care of. And so I want to say thank you to the Polish government and the Polish people. So let's take a look at some Polish pistols. Peter Piper picked a Polish pistol because it works so well. This is obviously the crest for the Polish army. These were made starting in 1936 and went up to 1939 when, of course, Hitler invaded and took over the country. So this is 38. So before the German army came in. This is a highly sought after what they call a Polish eagle because it has the Polish eagle on it. Here you see the serial number. And the finish on this is what I would call like a dust blue. I'll show you the difference between the dust blue. It's just a little bit dustier, and the German blue had a little bit more polish to it. They do have a mark here. It's usually a D2. I believe that's a B2, but they also have a G2, and the magazine on the bottom is got a proof mark, which is a G2. So those were the proof marks, again, issued to the Polish Army officers. And they made very few of these. There's only, just a few thousand each year. But 38 and 39 are the more common years. Now here's a price range on these, but the prices have been going up. These are very well-made pistols with a lot of history to them. Now in 1939, the German Army comes in and they take over the factory, but now you see they get rid of the Polish Eagle, of course. And they add their Waffen stamp, which is Waffen 77, and that was the German inspector who stamped it. That's a firing proof right here. That's a Waffen proof acceptance into the military. It went to the German Army. These are in 9mm, by the way. Both of them are 9mm Luger. And you see the front strap, beautiful. These do have the slotted back strap, both of these. Because they did make stocks for them. Now the stocks are very rare. I don't know that I've ever seen an original. I've seen repro stocks, but the stocks are very rare. Just look at the safety. This is the grip safety. See the high polish there versus the dustier blue here. So this is the Polish finish, and this is the early German finish. It does have what they call a 3-lever safety. 3-lever. Later they did away with some of that. Now this one is very special because, and if you get a research book, it's not controversial, but it's not proven. And here's what they say. The lanyard is removed, and the ejection port or the barrel is blued, and this is considered to be a Kriegsmarine contract. Now they do have a Kriegsmarine contract where they put the Kriegsmarine stamp right here, much like the one you see on the 1934 Mauser. This is not Kriegsmarine marked, but there is some evidence that these went to the German Navy. They have the blued barrel, they have the lanyard not installed, and they always come from the early block, which in this case is no suffix. So this was made probably in late 1939, right after they took over the factory, maybe early 1940, but this is the almost 8,000th, the 8,000th gun made under German occupation. Condition, just absolutely stunning, but you do see the slightly different color in the blue. And then these deteriorated all the way to the point where they made them very crudely. They did away with a lot of this, but they made them very crudely with wooden grips and a phosphate finish. And here's a picture of one of the ones that were made very late in the war, probably 1944 or early 1945. One other tidbit of information, the German Army loved the Viz. They found it to be, certainly easier to use than the Luger. I'm not sure about compared to the P38. But they loved the Viz because it was so well made, and it was a favorite, I'm told, it's a favorite among the SS troops. Hey, I have a visitor that just came in with some guns, so let's go check them out. Okay, guys, I have a few more guns to show you, and I want to do a shout out to Chris in New Jersey who actually drove these over, and it's a Wednesday somewhere, so we'll call this a walk-in Wednesday. I'm saving the best for last. I want to talk about this, but he also brought a couple guns just to show me what a phenomenal find. First of all, this is a 1936 holster. At first I thought it was 1935 because it's a G date inside, but we were just discussing the fact that most of the 1935 Lugers come in 1936 holsters, and that's because they made very, very few in 1935. If you find a 1935 holster, they can easily be $1,500. The only reason I can think of is they made a lot in 34 and not a lot of K-dates, only 10,000 K-dates. So they had plenty left over, so they didn't make a lot in 35, but they did make a lot in 34 and 36. Black holster, as it should be. You can see that was not dyed over, but that's the original color. It's got a tool inside, but it's a blank tool. The reason this is really a special rig, and when he brought it in, first I drooled a little bit, and then I said, "Is it for sale?" And he said no. But yeah, this is a 2-match mag G-date. So there's a G-date, which stands for 1935, and the S42 is the Mauser code. All the numbers are matching. It's in the C block. Oh, and we talk about halos. Every time I talk about halos, people say, "I don't know what you mean." There's like an aura around the numbers, and that is only found if the finish is original. In the bluing process, I think when you shoot it and heat up the barrel, it causes that halo effect. But that tells me it's original finish. If you look at the front strap and the back strap, they're extremely nice straw small parts. Now here's the money shot. We're going to show the 2 matching magazines. Now notice the 5 and the 6. It's a different font. Both K-dates and G-dates have a slightly different font. Then in 36, they go to a more standard font that you see through the end of production. But these are just an odd font, and you'll see on these 2 matching magazines, it has the same font and correct font. These are not force matched or messed with or post-war done. You see in the C block, one has a plus, that's the spare magazine. And one thing that Chris actually pointed out, and is a good point, if the mags have been messed with, most likely they removed the pin, took it out, put it in a machine, and then put it back together. So often you'll see marks on the pin where they popped it through or popped it back in. Both of these pins have not been messed with. Wish I had an example of one that was messed with. I will at some point. But notice they're nickel tubes and 2 matching mag G-date. Very desirable gun, and they almost never show up anymore. I probably have one in the safe, but it's been probably 5 years since I dug it out. Also, we have this PP. I'll do this really quickly. This is a late war PP. It does have the legend. I think this is about 1944, and it is Waffenamt, which means it went to the German military, most likely an officer in 1944. It has the correct wartime magazine. No W on the back, which would be 1945. So this is probably the correct magazine, the correct wooden grips, and just a standard holster. It does have a spare magazine, which is also a wartime PP magazine. Okay, moving right along, we have another PP. This is a police style holster, but it's not police marked. So police style, but not police marked. What could be inside? Let's open it up and see. This is obviously a PP, and it went to the Reichsfinance Bureau, or what we would call the Treasury Department. So they had Treasury agents, just like we did back in the 30s. This was made in the 30s from the serial number. It's Crown N, which means before 1940. After 1940, it was Eagle N. Here's an example of the Eagle N. Eagle N versus the Crown N. It's hard to distinguish, I know. But this went to the Reichsfinance Bureau. There's the correct magazine. Banner only. Remember I said wartime magazine? The difference is the pre-war, we'll put this in front of this because this is pre-war, was Mauser banner? No. Walther banner only. And then during the war, they said we need to add the caliber because they were also making 9mm and 22. They didn't want to get it mixed up. So they did the banner plus the 7.65. Now, save the best for last. You guys have been waiting for this. Unfinished, engraved PP. Now, we've talked about this serial range before. I've said there is a solid block of a couple hundred guns from the 215,000 range. I think that's about 1940, but they were still in the factory at the end of the war. And there's several ways to be able to tell, and these recently have come to light, and so collectors have discovered them, and they're demanding a premium because of what they are. Basically, in 1940, the factory engraved a bunch of PPs, all consecutive number, one right after another, a solid block. When I look at the data, I see a solid block of several hundred Walther PPs in the 215,000 range. You see it's oak leaf and acorn, and that is typically what they have. They have a couple others. There's a floral engraving, and there's also one that's like an English scroll, hard to describe, but you can see it on the front strap, the back strap. Now, what tells me this was put together by the GIs after the war was over, a couple of things. First of all, there are no proof marks, no eagle end proofs, no crown end proofs, no proofs, which means it was never test fired, never issued. Also, sometimes this is not engraved. This time it is. This pin was put in later because it's not the right pin. So in other words, they just put it together from parts. The signal indicator pin is not installed, put together from parts. This is blued and this is blued, put together from parts. This is all unfinished, laying in the factory. Now, most of the engraved guns I have, this piece is engraved right here, and also this piece is engraved, but they were, again, just grabbing parts, putting them together. And the grand finale is this is blank. Notice this is engraved and this is blank. And the reason it's blank is because the parts were set aside for later assembly, and then they would inscribe it to somebody who got an award. The Germans intended that they would be inscribed for Luftwaffe aces, or a sharpshooter, or somebody that was being honored in some way for some heroic deed. They would later inscribe it with the occasion or the person's name or their birthday. I've seen them with their birthday. But what ended up happening was when the GIs came in April of 1945, they started putting these together. So some came back with a blank slide. I have 2 PPKs with a blank slide here. But also they inscribed them to their officers. There were several that sold recently on Rock Island. Here's an example. They went to the Tough Hombre unit, and they were just men who had either their own name inscribed or their commanding officer. The most famous of these would be the Patton had his men inscribed a gun to him. There are 2 of them that are known. One that is in VMI, Virginia Military Institute, and it is 1 digit off from this one. Here's a picture of the one at VMI. We're going to try to get them together. Chris is going to see if he can get the 2 together. This is basically its consecutive number. This one is ends in 296, and the one at VMI is 297. And again, there's a picture of it. It was presented to Patton. He gave it to someone before he died, and they donated it to VMI in their museum. So we'll see if we can get those 2 together. There is another one possibly in West Point, but it may have been moved. I've gotten feedback from people. Maybe it shows up around the country, but I believe there is a second one. So just a very rare pistol, again, being documented as having been put together by GIs. Very rare find, and congratulations to Chris for picking this one up. Thanks for watching. We covered a lot of territory, some really cool guns, great guns to show you. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel, and tell somebody else. People write to me all the time and say, why don't you have more subscribers? Duh, I don't know.